Hello, hello, it's the Curious Lo, back with another Disney review from the vault. Now today we're going to be taking a look at 1995's Man of the House starring Chevy Chase and Jonathan Taylor Thomas. As always with this series, there's a minor spoiler warning, so you have been warned. Man of the House premiered on March 3rd, 1995 to generally panned reviews, although somebody must have liked it because it raked in a cool $40 million at the box office. In preparing for this review, I rewatched this movie for the first time since I was about 10, and boy, had I been looking through some nostalgia-tinted glasses because I loved this movie as a kid. Now, though, well, you'll just have to wait and see. The first thing you'll notice about this movie is how utterly 90s it is, from the slang to the rollerblading everywhere to the constant plaid that everyone insists on wearing. The time period is obvious. The story revolves around the 90s tried-and-true method of kid versus adult. In this movie, we have a new stepfather coming into the mix with a kid who is less than happy about that, and of course, how do you get rid of an adult that you hate? You make his life a living hell until he leaves. Now, our two men who are vying for control of the house are Ben, played by Jonathan Taylor Thomas, and Jack, played by Chevy Chase. Now, they both unwittingly join a Boy Scout-esque group called the Indian Guides. Pranking and hilarity ensue, but of course this is a Disney movie, so by the end, they have formed a bond and band together to defeat the out-of-nowhere threat of an Italian crime family. Chevy Chase is his normal slapstick self, but it's obvious that by the time this movie was filmed, he was a little bit past his prime because, yeah, he was struggling. Jonathan Taylor Thomas is of course present because, I mean, it was the 90s and he was in basically everything around then. He plays the character Ben, who is our preteen who's hell-bent on getting his soon-to-be stepfather out of the mix. Now, Ben is probably the biggest brat I've ever seen in a movie. I detest his character, probably because it's so realistic in that I can definitely see kids acting like this, and it's played for laughs, but it's really hard to watch. As far as his acting goes, it wasn't my fave. I mean, he's a kid actor, so it's nothing amazing. He was just kind of meh. Farrah Fawcett makes a forgettable appearance as Ben's mom, Sandy, who is someone that I never really liked Farrah Fawcett as an actress, and honestly, in this movie, she's exactly what I'd come to expect. 90% hair and as wooden acting as I've ever seen from her. The real stars, however, of this movie, full of quite terrible acting, honestly, are the Indian Guides. They are the biggest cast of characters. I mean, there's quite literally a circus performer in the group. They're ridiculous, they're very caricature-y. I mean, that's why they're the supporting cast and not the main cast, but I think because the main cast was so just kind of meh throughout, it really is something that I always latched onto. In fact, my favorite scene as a kid was a scene where they learned how to rain dance to the song Gonna Make You Sweat. Very 90s, of course. And I was not disappointed. It was probably one of the only things while watching this movie that I was not disappointed on from my memories as a child. It's ridiculous, but it's played very funny. I mean, there's all these, like, white guys dancing around a field. It's a ridiculous scene, and I loved it, and I'm talking about it so much because I have almost nothing good to say about this poor 90s movie. Not much can be said about the sets or costume. It takes place in Seattle, Washington, which is my hometown, which should endear me to the film, and while it is fairly accurate in that a lot of it was filmed in Seattle, the skylines are all there, you know, Pike Place Market, the beaches, all that kind of famous Seattle stuff. It was nothing spectacular. Mostly, though, rewatching this movie left a bit of a bad taste in my mouth. Now we're gonna get a little serious here. I did mention earlier that there is like an Italian crime family and the Indian Guides. Again, right there should be kind of a red flag just because a little bit more modern take on it would have been to call them like Native American guides or something. I don't know. But they're not as bad. Obviously there's a little bit of kind of insensitivity. They do have a character that is Native American who kind of comes in halfway through the movie to kind of like help get this group of kind of Boy Scouts up to snuff on all their like Indian guide skills, like, you know, archery, they do like tomahawk throwing, I told you they learn a rain dance, and all from this character, so it makes it not quite as bad as it could have been, but it's still a little cringeworthy. The Italian like mobsters, on the other hand, are like unwatchable. It's like they tried to create a similar characters to the two burglars in Home Alone, but you just, as a kid, it didn't bother me. I was all about the slapsticky, they're kind of bumbling villains, but as an adult, it's kind of unwatchable. I don't really know what else to say about it, so it's a little bit of just some cultural sensitivity, I think, that was not necessarily paid to the movie, even though it's obvious they thought about it because they do even mention it in the movie as in reference to the Indian guides, but the Italian mobsters, not so much. They're very stereotypical. It's bad, it's very stereotypical, and just not the best. Not what I have come to expect from Disney, especially in more recent years. Overall, Man of the House is cheesy, and it's a little bit of a fun time, but it really suffers from some script work and plot that could have used a little bit of reworking, and maybe trying to cast not just the names of the hour, such as Chevy Chase and Jonathan Taylor Thomas, and actually find a kid who could have acted better in this part. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to give Disney's 1995 Man of the House 1.5 Mickey ears out of 5.